Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to Lynxspring's webinar showcase, Be Ready for 2023. I'm Marc Petock, Vice President, Chief Marketing and Communication Officer at Lynxspring. Again, from all of us, we thank you for joining today. This webinar is all about making sure you are up to date on our product portfolios, solutions, and services, as well as the market as we head into 2023. Couple housekeeping items. Yes, we are recording this, and this will be available and posted on Lynxspring's YouTube channel in the next day or two. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat section, and we'll try to get to as many as we can and go from there. Next slide, please. Joining me today are the following: Jeff Kegley, our Senior Sales Executive; Robert Hirsch, our CTO; Pat Hirsch, Vice President, OEM and Strategic Accounts; and Lee Snyder, Director of Sales. Next slide. So today we're going to cover several different topics. First of all, we're going to talk about the market, followed by Niagara, followed by Genesis Edge, followed by Onyx LX, then Onyx training and our professional services, brief little commentary about our ancillary products, then we'll get to some question and answers. Next slide. Before we really get into this, I really want to do a special shout out, a big warm thank you to Bob Mealy. He's been our friend and a colleague for a long time. If you haven't heard, after 17 years at Lynxspring, Bob will be retiring on January 2nd. Bob, I know I speak for all of us that we offer our thanks and appreciation for your leadership, dedication, and contributions you have given us for so many years. We are grateful for what you have done. You will be missed, but not forgotten. Remember now, when someone asks what you do and you say, "I'm retired," be sure you say it with gusto and the same passion you have given us at Lynxspring for all these years. And to be sure to make your retirement its fullest, I want you to remember these phrases that need to be part of your everyday vocabulary now. First one is, "It's not my damn problem anymore." And then the second one is, "Jane, where are we going for the early bird special today?" Bob, from all of us, customers, people at Lynxspring, the industry, and everyone alike, congratulations on an outstanding career, my friend. Next slide. So getting us really started today, I'm going to address a couple points about the market that we at Lynxspring believe is very important to know. So as we head into 2023, the market and opportunities will remain very brisk, especially as new demands from the business side of buildings and facilities take further hold on how they must be managed and operated in today's environment. Furthermore, the current economic conditions are not driving owners and operators to curtail their building technology investments. We are seeing an increase in conversations and projects that I expect to accelerate as both owners and occupants come to terms with the greater, smarter building environment. Also, the built environment has become hyper distributed with the use of IP and the edge playing a significant shift in the way we are connecting, controlling, acquiring information, interacting with it, and making decisions. Together, They are enabling us to flatten the topology of the traditional building control architecture and create a horizontal IP architecture. This is enabling us to expand our reach to a whole new range of equipment, devices, and applications that are providing relevant outcomes for the way we are operating and managing our buildings. Next slide. So diving in a little bit, building automation systems for the next while are projected to go from basically 148 billion, this is global, to reach that number by 2027, up from 86 billion. This represents an average growth rate of just over 11%. So we always ask ourselves, well, that's a wonderful growth rate, but what's really fueling it? And we think this is important as you prepare for 2023 to know what's fueling it. So one, owners and operators are not cutting their spend. Two, we're seeing an increase in confidence by owners and operators in the ROI that they are realizing. Three, the move from smart buildings to ones that are smarter. Four, increasing requirements for energy efficient facilities. And again, the importance of how energy now is back in our headlines every day. Sustainability and decarbonization, the new operational conditions warranted by the hybrid work environment in which buildings and need to operate today. The increase in regulatory and compliance requirements, and I do add a caveat there, the government programs that the current administration has set forth and made funds available. The continuation of the importance of the health and safety of our buildings, data-driven decision-making, the importance of the occupant experience, the need for an owner and an operator to extend the building value of their particular buildings. Sort of what I alluded to a little bit earlier, the importance of IP and now new protocols such as MQTT. And then the ultimate icing on the cake, as far as I'm concerned on this, is the importance of the increase in having to reduce costs. Next slide. So if we look at this from the US perspective, what I've shown you here is the growth rate of what we provide together as a community, the growth rate from 2014 to 2025. And you can see the dark color represents hardware, the light blue represents software, and the other color represents service. And notice that all three of these areas are showing nice increases. And what's interesting is look at the increase in the service side. So something to think about in 2023 is being able to look at offering additional services to the opportunities that you have within your business. Next slide. So if we look at the types of buildings where the growth rate is occurring, and I think this particular graphic really shows a nice look at that. You can see increases in all types for the most part, from data centers, offices, hotels, airports, warehouses, light industrial, retail, education, so forth and so on. So again, there's not just one area where we're seeing the growth for 2023 and beyond. It is multiple project types. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff Kegley, who's going to talk a little bit about Niagara for 2023. Jeff?
Thanks, Mark. With Lynxspring being a Niagara OEM, all of us are well entrenched with Niagara. So what I really would like to do at this portion of the webinar is just kind of point out a few things. Next slide. So what versions of Niagara do we support? So for the Jenny 8000, we're at 4.12. We also support 4.11 and 4.10. For the Edge products, we're at 4.11.1.16, and we also support 4.10.3.20 and 4.9.1.30. The Genesis Edge VAV that was recently launched this year, we've only had one version, of course, and that is 4.10 U1. Now, the good news is that we are already evaluating 4.13 for all of the products, and so stay tuned for announcements as to when we'll be moving in that direction. All right, shifting gears, would like to talk about SMAs, and a number of you might not be aware, but there is a tool called Asset Manager that makes things a lot easier for you. Next slide. The other development is that now available is, instead of SMAs, there additionally is called Enterprise SMA. And what that does for you is it helps you streamline the process for selling and managing your software. It does not require involvement from your end user customers. You can import licenses into the tool, and it will enable you to manage your customers' portfolio across multiple brands through one account. So really streamlining that process. The other thing it will do is synchronize the maintenance expiration dates for your customer, and your customer will get a nice grace period with that. Now, in order to quote Enterprise SMA, your customer does need to have at least 5 eligible licenses, and that can be across multiple brands. Your customer's benefit, of course, is that they'll have the latest and greatest to support the latest and greatest from Windows and browsers and things. They'll have the latest fixes and the latest cybersecurity technology. Again, I talked about synchronizing the maintenance expiration date and that grace period. So per license, if there's a maximum of 364 days that could be under the grace period in order to sync everything to that one day. All right, next slide. All right. As we should always remind ourselves when we're talking about Niagara, one of the big differences that Lynxspring provides is the fact that we are a true open solution. Many other OEMs will have closed NICs, or they will confuse the customer saying that they support open when it's simply an open protocol that they support. And those few OEMs that do have open NICs quite often use some sort of other application tool or a programming tool that is locked down and draws you into them and effectively has a closed environment. So remember to point that out for your customers. Next slide. And with that, I will turn it over to Robert Hirsch.
Hello, everyone can hear me now, I bet. Next slide, please. So if you're listening to us for the first time or just learning about Lynxspring for the first time, I just want to convey to you my excitement to talk to you about our Genesis Edge product. The Genesis Edge product, and I'll ask my friend Mark here, he's with me. Do you know when Edge 534 was released?
I do.
I have the answer as well.
Well, tell us, please.
Late 2017, we released the Edge 534. And Mark, two significant things happened that's about that same time. One was that we won an award from IBCOM, right, as an intelligent building controller. And two, the very first 534 that was ever installed was at the governor's mansion in Arizona. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
So that was pretty fantastic at the time. So as you can tell, the Edge 534, you can go to the next slide, please. The Edge 534, in my opinion, is a flagship product for Lynxspring. It has about 5 years of life history in it, and it's been hardened over that time frame. And because it is a Niagara-based product, it also takes on the characteristics of the Niagara upgrades, the Niagara features and functions that become available to us over time. So when we first released this, I believe it was in the 4.5, 4.6 versions, and now we're up to 4.11. You know, Lynxspring's partners and customers don't necessarily always follow the versioning and always upgrade when new versions become available, nor do they need to. So Lynxspring supports all those versions from the very beginning to where we currently are at 4.11. The 534, and we'll spend a little extra time with this because the general consensus or specifications of this product will also convey easily to the next Edge products as well, and you'll see a trend here. Like I said, it does have ported the entire Niagara stack. It is licensed as an Edge controller. It has a variety of different licenses, including the number of devices and number of points it can support. You can connect to it using your Workbench or your Lynxspring's branded Pro Builder. It is fully capable of communicating BACnet, Modbus, and Fox protocol. It has the connected ports such as RS-45s, as you can see at the bottom of the photo there. There's 2 networks for serial bus. There's also 2 networks for IP, okay? And this particular controller has 34 points of I/O. What's interesting about this, and I'll ask Mark if he remembers where 34 points of I/O came from.
I most certainly do. It is back in the day when Lynxspring first started working with Tritium. We had a customer, an OEM customer, and it was specifically, we needed a controller specifically for 34 points of I/O. And we talked to Tritium, we worked with Tritium, and that is the reason why Tritium came out with 34 points of I/O, because Lynxspring at that particular time had a specific customer and a use case.
That is correct. Mark has been studying. So yeah, back in the day before Edge existed, we had an opportunity to control equipment with the very new Jaces, the Jace 2000 or 1000 that came out. We rebranded Jace 2000, but we could use it plus I/O to control rooftop equipment. 34 points ended up being that sweet spot where we could cover a large percentage of all the configurations that we were going to look at, and 34 points has just come along the way for the next 15, 16 years. And here we are today with the 534. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, you can see that this is an Edge 534, but because it is a very adaptable product, it is Niagara framework ported, we have internally adapted the mechanisms within the controller to then adhere to other technologies. For example, the Monet sensors are supported by an Edge 534 as well. Within the controller, we have a PCB board that connects to that antenna. It's a transceiver that can communicate with Monet sensors. And with the Edge 534, you get those Monet sensor data real time. You can use it within the Niagara framework and make control applications from that information. And you do not have to rely on a gateway that first sends the data to the cloud and then provides you the data from that cloud, and then you can make control decisions from that. This is real-time control using wireless sensors adapted to the Edge 534 controller. Just one comment about Monet sensors. They're they're wireless. They work in the 3 different frequency ranges that we show here. And there's a list of sensor types that we support today, and more are coming frequently. Next slide, please. Again, the 534 adapts to, guess what, a 4G modem. Within the controller, we have a 4G modem. In this case, it's a Nimble Lake modem, and it is operating on the Verizon network. Within the Verizon network, it's a private VPN, so it's highly secure. So each customer gets their own account within our VPN, and they can access the controller and manage it for their needs. So again, the Edge 534, not losing any of its functionality as a controller, a Niagara controller with I/O, or able to communicate serial or IP. Now we just added a modem to it. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're changing up the 534, and we've really just kind of shrunk it down into a smaller purpose-built controller for smaller applications, smaller equipment. It is a 514, and as you may guess, 14 means there's 14 points of I/O. So there really is no difference there. It can be loaded and licensed the same way as a 534, and it can also reside in the same conditions. The same specifications exist. It just has a smaller footprint. It can, and what we like about it, what a lot of our customers like about it, is that it can fit in those smaller panels or pieces of equipment that don't allow for a lot of usage by third-party controllers. Next slide, please. Okay, what do we have here? Well, it's not a 534, it is not a 514, it's rather a 414. Again, physically, it is the same thing as a 514, sorry. The 14 includes the 14 points of I/O. However, from working with the Niagara framework and the licensing thereof, we wanted to drive the cost as far down as possible so we can get edge controllers, the point of calling it an edge, to get our product into smaller applications, less, I guess, building-oriented applications in the case of a 414, but in equipment and terminal controllers as well. So in this case, a 414 is licensed with 3 devices, 50 points. It cannot be upgraded. So you can't take a 414 and then upgrade it to a 300-point license, okay? So it is what it is for what it is. In this case, and if I failed to mention it before, all of our Edge products operate on a Linux operating system, and it's a Helix branded Helix or OS, and it supports, again, the Fox protocol, BACnet, IP, MSTP, Modbus, so on and so forth. So it has all the familiarity, familiar services, characteristics of Niagara when you connect to a Jace as to when you connect to a 414. Really no difference. The difference mainly is the size and the license that you have. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've taken the 414, and now we want to drive it to even further application-specific functionality, where we've added a pressure transducer. This is a 2-inch differential pressure transducer, and we have loaded within this controller standardized VAV sequences of operations from ASHRAE G36, and now we have a VAV controller. This controller itself was just released merely months ago, I believe. And this product also has then led it to be installed on an IP network. So you got a VAV controller that can be an Ethernet IP or IP network controller, and it also supports the daisy chain protocol, spanning tree on a 25 unit loop. All right, so this is a pretty special product in itself. So go to the next slide, please. All right, so just a little peek under the covers, and Mark asked me not to really do much road mapping, but I wanted to share this with you. Because of the edge controllers, as they get driven into smaller applications like single room applications such as the VAV, there is a need for temperature sensing in the space. We have been using third-party sensors, exclusively, and we still do, and we still support them. We always will. However, we've been asked to, from a number of our customers to date, come to more of a simplified, more purpose-built wall sensor that is identifiable with an edge controller. So what is on our roadmap is what we call the Genesis Horizon digital wall sensor. It is a pretty high quality looking product, touch screen and high resolution interface to control the typical things that you want to control in a room, temperature, set points, occupied, and so on and so forth. So that is what's yet to come in 2023. Look for it at the HR booth. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of the value propositions that Edge brings to us, and remember I said it in the very beginning, I'm very excited about Edges. They are a flagship of Lynxspring. They are unique to Lynxspring in that we've created Niagara ported I/O controllers across an array of controller types and purpose-built types. So, but all of them have characteristics that are equal with all. Sorry. BTL certification is ongoing. We should have that complete next year. GSA also is very interested in the Edge products. They've reached out to us many times. It's installed in many different GSA projects, and they continually test the product in their security labs. And also next is a request in 2023 to have our RMF artifacts, which is more suited for the Department of Defense. We are also making Edge products available on GSA's multiple award schedule for facilities. So if you have opportunities to bid on projects and you need a control solution, soon you will find Edge controllers as qualified on the GSA schedules. And let's not forget, Edge controllers are made in the USA. Not many people can say that. I don't think anybody can say it with an imported Niagara product itself. We are not ISO 9000 compliant at Lynxspring. We're not certified, but we're compliant. All of our processes here are documented, and we endeavor to work within the ISO specifications. UL 916s, CSA, FCC certified, notwithstanding, that just comes with the products itself. They've all been tested and they continue to be tested as things change. One of the best values that I believe when you invest your building to have the Edge products installed is that you're making an investment. And of course, you're making an investment with any product that you decide to install. But with an Edge product, because it is Linux-based, because it is I/O, because of its functionality with Niagara, it is not a static product by any means. It can be. You can just install it and forget it. But I doubt that's your purpose. So with the characteristics that we talked about on the Edge, when it's installed, it is a dynamic part of your product or property. It can be used for your purposes, whatever that might be. Some of it is just controlling, maintaining customer comfort. Others are mining data, sharing data, fault detections, optimizations, endeavoring to facilitate other requirements, government regulations that might come here and there through currently or in the future, so it can be adaptable to those things as well. But the last thing I want to share with you is that it truly enables our customers to state very confidently, hey, we do have a horizontal open control solution. So next page, please.
I want to add, as you're transitioning to that slide, is we all know that OT and IT have been converging for some time now. And as we continue in this journey of building automation, building integration, it's only going to get tighter and tighter. And one of the things that I think is often overlooked with our Genesis Edge product portfolio is it is IP. And when you talk IP with the IT folks, they fully get a better picture because they understand IP. So I think part of that wall that we've all experienced when we on the OT side had conversations with the IT side is that wall is starting to come down, and we're seeing greater acceptance because of not only Niagara, the one programming tool, everything that Robert has mentioned, but the fact that this is IP and it is addressing the new way that we are connecting, communicating, and accessing data. Sorry, I wanted to jump in there.
No problem. Hey, so this is, I think, my last slide, and this I just wanted to kind of identify with you what we mean by a horizontal architecture. Like Mark said, it's IP. We leverage the Niagara Protocol Fox across from end to end, okay? Now you could take this architecture and dice it up. Cut the left end off or the right end off, just have the middle, take the middle out and bring the ends together. It can be configured any way you want to, dicing it up. But at the end of the day, it is a horizontal architecture. And the value thereof, I think, can be translated pretty quickly. We've seen some enterprise customers that realize this very quickly, and that they understand that the investment into an edge-enabled horizontal Niagara architecture is an investment not only today, but in the future. The supportability of these products from end to end is one tool, one connection point, or multiple connection points, but you can get to the same places, okay? So that's the simple things that we like to profess with the edge controllers, not only their flexibility and their function and then the changes in their form, but also the adherence to today's requirements and being able to adapt to what's going to come down the pipe in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Sorry about that delay, people. Go ahead and navigate to the next screen, would you please? So Onyx LX is a modular line of controllers which complements our Genesis and Genesis Edge products. These solutions are targeted for BACnet MSTP networks. They are application specific and can be configured through multiple tool options. Lynxspring onboarded this technology in early 2020, and to date, it's been a highly successful endeavor. Next slide. Detailed technical information about the controllers can be found online at our partner resource site. And besides standard specification and installation information, also posted are links to online training videos, which are highly useful for those who want to learn more about the products. Next slide, please. There are three fundamental ways to configure the product, technically four, but we have two primary tools that we use, and they are as follows. Next slide. The Onyx LX UI tool, this is an easy-to-use software tool that runs on a laptop overlaying a standard Windows operating system. It's used for configuration, commissioning, and the graphical interface. You can create projects on or offline, troubleshoot networks, and download applications. This is a free download tool. There are no licenses or renewal fees. Next slide. Now, the most popular way of recent to configure the controls is through a newly developed Niagara driver. This allows you to configure the controllers through either your Niagara Pro Builder or Niagara Workbench tool. There is a fee. A fee does exist to use this option, and please reference the price list to get the right part. Next slide, please. So now both of these software tools are available for download, once again, from our partner portal. And this, which also includes references to install and user guides. Next slide, please. So fundamentally, there are three core hardware options in the product family. The first is the 848 model controller. Now this unit has 20 points of I/O and is designed for AHU, RTU, and heat pump applications, with a recent addition for fan coil applications as well. The particular model you're looking at, the BP848, has local handoff auto switches. Next slide. The B848 unit is functionally the same product, but it just does not have the handoff auto switches. Next slide. And then thirdly, the 848 model comes available as a BACnet I/O expansion module, which this can be used in a variety of different applications, including connected to any type of third-party master controller via BACnet. Next slide. The VAV family includes the BZ424, which supports 10 points of I/O, has an integral motor, along with local handoff auto and potentiometer overrides behind the cover. And that would be if you remove the cover in a service application, you can manually override any point, whether it's digital or analog. Now the model also supports 3 room sensors. Next slide. The BZ122 model is functionally the same. It carries only 5 I/O and no handoff override options, which is also sold at a lower price point. Next slide. All the products previously shown can connect to one of 2 communicating room sensors. They communicate via a dedicated bus, which is called a T-zone bus. The TZ200 model shown comes with an optional motion, humidity, and CO2 features. Next slide, please. So there are 2 base models of communicating thermostats available, which operate on the same hardware. The BW437 RTU option thermostat is an application-specific device configurable through, once again, both the software options we referenced, and the unit is targeted for standard AHU, RTU, and heat pump applications. Options also include humidity, motion, and CO2. Next slide, please. So similarly, the BW437 fan coil, it carries the same I/O. It's functionally the same hardware, and it also carries the same sensing options, but it is designed for, as you would guess, fan coil applications. Next slide. Okay, and lastly, some of the necessary or optional accessories you should be aware of include a USB to BACnet MSTP cable. This is necessary for if you want to connect from your laptop using the UI software tool directly to a controller. And then optionally as well, there are some differential pressure sensors and an 8 output relay pack that can take the place of independent pilot relays. So this is all I have for right now, and please contact your rep for further information on this product line. Thank you.
So with that, let's go ahead and turn it over to Lee, who's going to address Onyx, some things about training, and our professional services. Lee?
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm really excited about what I'm about to say right here and right now, because one of the most common questions I get asked is, what is Onyx, what is Edge, what is Genesis, and how do they all relate? So I'm just going to take a real quick second and preface that Onyx is the products that Lynxspring manufactures. It is our hardware, and it is a platform that consists of a family of products that are modular, open. We make hardware bridges and gateways that support multiple devices across different market segments in our edge to enterprise and cloud applications. So Onyx is Lynxspring manufactured hardware, and Genesis is our product line for Niagara products, and Edge is Onyx hardware that utilizes Niagara. So the Edge 534 is on Onyx hardware, but because it has Niagara, it becomes an Edge product, a Genesis Edge product. So I hope that clears some things up. I love being able to answer that question. So next slide, please. In this family of products, we have the Onyx XM 34IO extender module, and we lovingly refer to this as the XM because it's a mouthful to say, say the whole name. This Onyx device is used for additional physical I/O points for our Edge controller product line, not just the 534, but all of the Edge controllers. The configuration is pretty much identical to, it is actually identical to what's on the 534 onboard I/O. Same point count, same inputs, same outputs, even laid out the same way. And they are used to extend the number of total I/O points for a particular controller. This I/O configuration actually matches what Tritium has done on the 8000 I/O, in which that also matches what was done on our legacy products that was mentioned earlier, what you know as the original Jace 2, the Genesis PC 1000, 3000, and 6000. So we've remained consistent in how those products all work together. There's a slight nuances here that I will discuss in a second, but the programming interface in Niagara looks and feels the same. So the difference here is that the Onyx hardware, the extender modules, connect through our proprietary Onyx network interface. So in Niagara, instead of using NRIO or NDIO as the old systems use, we will use our Onyx network, and it connects on this little gray connector at the top here, right next to the power input. And that is a separate connection which leaves your 485 ports on your 534 or 514 or 414 open for your BACnet or Modbus trunks, and gives you a different interface, and it gives you a little more flexibility that you can get more use out of your individual controllers in the field. So that's a pretty big benefit when you're looking at adding IOs to a controller. The Onyx network uses its, as I said, uses its own 45 port, the little gray connector, and that gray connector is our proprietary network that will configure in virtually identical way to way you're used to if you're doing an 8000 or one of the older controllers. You can also use the same power supply off of your Edge controller to power this extension module, but please do refer back to the Edge wiring guides for power and communication connections, just to make sure that that you're getting everything correct. Next slide, please. So what can you do with these things? You can add on the 534 up to 8 modules. That gives you a total of 306 I/O points, all connected on one controller, and that is a lot of I/O points. These I/O points do not count against the Niagara global point limit the same way that BACnet and Modbus points would. So these expansion modules are not going to count as a device, and the I/O points count in a different bucket of points for the I/O separately. So if you had an Edge 534 with 100 points, you would have 100 points for Modbus and BACnet and other serial communications proxy points. But there's also another bucket of points for I/O. So that gives you a huge cost advantage when you're doing a job or estimating a job. On the 514 works the same way. You can add up to 8 additional I/O expansion modules, but because there's only 14 points on the controller, your total is 286 I/O points. Now, little known fact about the Edge 414 is that you can add 3 expansion modules on top of the 414, but you still only have 50 I/O points, so you have to make sure you stay under that limitation across the onboard I/O and the 3 expansion modules. But still, that's pretty impressive that you can take that little 414 at its lower price point and be able to do a number of different configurations for I/O. So it's a pretty big advantage. Next slide, please. The XMB is a true BACnet MSTP I/O module. It has the same configuration as the XM, but it is a true BACnet device. So it can be discovered by any BACnet controller and be used to control I/O points, but its programming is still dependent on the controller. There is no onboard programming here, so you can't disconnect it and think that it's going to continue to operate in the field. But because it is a 45 serial BACnet connection, it's going to have a lot longer range than the expansion modules are, which, by the way, are limited to about 30 feet. So this gives you a lot bigger distance to be able to connect your I/O to. Now, this will not connect on the little gray connector. This is going to connect through the 485 port and be daisy chained just like any other BACnet item in your BACnet trunk. Next slide. The Onyx 4G LTE cellular router is very similar to what Robert just shared with us as the 534 4G, but this particular product does not have Niagara with it. This is a standalone cellular router. So again, no Niagara with this, but the programming interface is basically the same and the operation is the same. It uses the same private VPN service, it uses the same private cellular network, and it is going to configure the same way. Some of the advantages here, though, that I think are important to note is that when you connect your devices to the cellular router and then connect to the private cellular network, your data does not go through the public internet. It goes through our private cellular network, which then you access with the VPN connection, which means that your connected IP devices you've programmed into this controller are much more secure, reducing the number of attack threshold or attack points that you're exposing to the world for your customer. Let's move on to the next slide, please. And then finally, in our Onyx product line, we have 2 almost identical touchscreen displays. One is 7 inches and one is 10 inches. These touchscreens are very secure. They are locked into a kiosk mode, so when they are booted up, they only go to the interface that it's supposed to look at. So even though they are a tablet with an operating system, they're only going to work to display what you're looking for. You wouldn't be able to take one and start using it as a regular tablet and loading applications on it, which is great for security purposes. But they are very, very similar in all their features and functions. They are going to install in the very similar way. They have a tamper-proof bezel, tamper-proof screws, which makes them very secure to mount. The mounting for them requires only a small hole in whatever surface that you're putting them in, so you don't have to do a big cutout, which can be awkward, and if you mess it up, you might end up having to replace a panel or patch a wall. So these reduce the difficulty for installations. They are touchscreen, they are Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi may be disabled if you'd like, but the tablets do allow you to connect to more than one controller. So you actually can access multiple controllers from a single touchscreen by selecting the correct IP interface for the controller that you're looking for. A new feature that we just added to these is the ability to upload your client certificates for automatic authentication for a user in Niagara. So that means that you're able to take advantages of the security that Niagara provides with using these touchscreens. So all you need to do then is in Niagara, when you develop your graphics, develop them as a user for your touchscreen based on the resolution of the touchscreen that you're going to use, and log in and you're good to go. Next slide. All right, professional services. Professional services at Lynxspring is our team of talented engineers and Niagara certified technicians. Next slide. So these guys are extremely capable, but why would you want to use them? So everybody out there that's a Lynxspring business partner is expected and is actually a very knowledgeable and capable Niagara provider. You guys have your own way of doing things, and you have a lot of skills and capabilities, clearly. But once in a while, you may have some need for additional knowledge and experience, or even just help. So you might want to use our Lynxspring professional services team if you find yourself shorthanded or in need of assistance in meeting a deadline. We might need some help with sequence of operation or methodology or even graphics. These guys are there to support you and help you deliver to your customers in a timely, professional fashion the work that you're trying to accomplish for your end users. So we're very excited about being able to offer these services to you. We never intend for these guys to be your control department, so we don't want to overdo it, but we do want to be there for you when you have a need to supplement the services that you provide. So the list of services that we do, next slide please, is actually too long to actually list all of them out. I would love to be able to put them on here, but it would take several more slides. We do pretty much anything that you can think of, but we are not contractors, and we don't pull wire, and we don't screw things to walls. But you can see here listed as some of the services that we do provide. But what I wanted to point out on here is two important items. We have a process at Lynxspring that has made us very successful with the services that we have been providing for over 20 years now. And it's based on a process called 3Ds, and that is discovery, development, and deployment. What that means is when you have an application or an opportunity that you need help with, Lynxspring will sit down with you and do a discovery, identify what is the scope of work, what is it that is the outcome, what is it that needs to be delivered, and then we provide you a proposal for that. If you accept a proposal, we will go in and develop it with milestones, and those milestones are very clearly defined, and we review those milestones with you as we go through the development process, so that we're not going into a dark room someplace and developing something and handing it off to you and hope that it's right. We want to involve you and make sure that you're part of that process. And then, of course, deployment is the delivery of that good or service or development that you've asked for. And based on that, we can then support you and support your development efforts. It'd be very successful with that. And that's really key to our success in our professional services team. The other important thing that I wanted to point out in here is the last thing on this slide, and that is our panel build capabilities. I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but Lynxspring has the ability to build panels for your particular projects. Now, what we'd like to do is not try to do one-offs and do very creative and innovative things, but would you have an application where you're going to have you have the time in order for us to build the panel for your particular application? We'd like to be able to do that for you. Where it's most successful is where you're going to have a deployment of multiple locations. We can build the panels to your specifications. We can even include the controllers, include the program logic, and ship those to you at a job site so that your technicians are freed up then to do your commissioning and final checks and move to the next job site. So we can do a lot of that on the back end for you and help you out. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. So in order to get there, we offer a quotation service. Lynxspring can actually assist you with, before you've actually won the job and getting the job, by helping you make sure that you've covered the labor, the bill of material, and hit all of the requirements and the specifications. We can even do drawings and takeoffs for you. But that doesn't all happen very quickly. We need time to do all of this. So we would ask you to give us a couple of weeks at least and provide us all the information. But if you have a project like this, contact Lynxspring, and we'll tell you how to go through the process and what to provide to us so that we can get all of this information to you in a timely fashion. Next slide, please. There we go. Classroom. Training for Lynxspring is pretty extensive. We have a lot of options for people. We offer virtual training, which is actually sitting through the class for a week, but instead of being in person, we're doing it on a computer, and you're logging in like in a webinar style classroom environment. You can ask the teacher questions live. You're going to get the information from the instructor live, and then at the end of the training week, you will take the test remotely, but it's the same test that you would take as if you were there. We have an online, which is a computer-based training system. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after this, but what that is a service where you log into a website and you go through a computer-generated training module or class, and you go through module by module by module in the classroom for that particular subject that you're learning. Usually that's Niagara certification. So you have a time that you can do this on your own and self-paced, and when you get to the end, we will then do a remote test. In-person classroom training is clearly the best option, but not everybody is able to take off time from work to go and travel someplace. So that's why we have these other options. And then finally, the other option that we have for you guys is to come to your location to do training for you. The training, we would ask that you have at least 4 students, but it really is, the sweet spot is at least 6 students or more. And the way that works is we schedule something in advance. You provide the location, the computers, the internet access, and so forth. We provide the instructor, and you are sitting in a classroom learning Niagara or whatever the class is, but it's at your facility instead of ours. And then, of course, you can see all of the classes that we offer here. There are some ways to do bulk classes. So if you're going to do multiple students at one time, there's some options on our price list that we can help you with. Next slide, please. So to get there, go ahead and load all of them if you would, please. It looks like they were building. So to get to training, you have to register. And I wanted to show this because it's a lot of people don't realize this. We just get a phone call or an email, or sometimes people will send us an order and say, here, we want to do training. In order to do training, please go to the lynxspring.com website, and there is a training tab at the top. You can see it actually in the left picture. And you go to that tab, and it will give you a list of the different training classes that you can that you can sign up for. And it will also give you dates that you can sign up for them. It gives you a full course description about what the prerequisites are, about what you're going to learn, what kind of tools or requirements are required, if there's any previous classes or any kind of other requirements, that it'll list it all there for you. And once you've decided on your class and your date, you can click the next button and just enter a little bit of basic information about your student. And this will actually register your student for the class. And then our training department will actually contact that student directly and say, here's what you need to know, here's what you need to bring, and work out the details with the student to make sure that they arrive on time or get set up correctly in order to do that class. So very easy to use, and I just want to point that out. So next slide, please. The e-learning center I alluded to earlier, and this is our self-paced online training class. There is no instructor. The entire training classes are set up to go through module by module by module and teach you the subject matter, but they're interactive. So there may be some videos, there may be some PowerPoint screens and information that's provided to you, and at some points you're actually required to interact with the screen and move things and fill in the blanks. But it's a very good training class for people who are not able to break away during the day to sit through a class. The other big benefit is this: is once you've gone through the class, you've actually registered for at least a year, and that student then has the ability to, after they've taken the test, to go back through the rest of the remaining year and go back and reference these training modules. This is a fantastic tool. We have a lot of people using it, but I still think it's underutilized. I hope you'll check it out. Next slide. Okay, in addition to all of the training things that we have some absolutely fantastic training videos and informative videos out there on our YouTube channel. And I just wanted to give this a little plug. This is really excellent for understanding your 534s or understanding our Onyx hardware, the cellular modems, or whatever the product may be. There's actually some very good videos on our new Niagara VAV product too. I hope you guys will check these out. Go ahead, next one. In addition, next slide, please. Yeah, in addition to the YouTube channel, in our partner resources website, when you just go in and you look for information about a particular product, there's also some very useful videos located there as well. So I think that was, next slide, I think that was it. Yeah, that was all that I had, Mark. Back to you.
Thanks, Lee. And again, coming to the conclusion of this, what we wanted to do is just remind you, as far as Lynxspring also has teamed up with some of the best in the industry to offer additional products and solutions that helps round out the portfolio of products and solutions and services that we've been talking about today. These include actuators, sensors, stats, enclosure, power supplies. Next slide, Matthew. And just to give you just a quick view, we're not going to go into this, but you can see some of the manufacturers and some of the products that that we do offer as ancillary products. They're all listed and available on our price sheet and whatnot. So again, one of the ones that I think is really exciting that we've just been able to offer is Reflow. And again, it comes with it's all about graphics and stuff, and we all know how important graphics are today in delivering solutions. Next slide. So now's the time for some Q&A. I've got two that I've already received here, and then I'm going to see if Matthew, did any come in here in a few minutes. Maybe you can call them out for us. But this one, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Robert Hirsch, since we're sitting here in the same room. Actually, these next two are going to be you, and then we can go from there. Love your Genesis Edge products. Using them, love them to death. However, I always get the question, are the Edge products a Jace replacement?
Oh, that's a good question, Mark. I may have a suitable answer for you. Just a little story behind that. When I first introduced the 534 to one of our business partners at ASHRAE in 2017, before it was released, trying to explain to him what it was, he goes, "That's great, but where do you put the J's?" I said, "No, you don't get it. There is no J's." However, yes, the Edge 534 is directly suitable to be a J's replacement if you have to replace a J's for whatever reason. Maybe it's not supported anymore via the hardware, maybe it's broken, maybe some software that you need is not available any longer. However, yes, from a Niagara standpoint, it can support your existing station, the existing Niagara software, and the modules thereof. In addition, coming in 2023, and Lee may have brought this up, I'm not sure, Lee, but there is a replacement mechanism that we have created for I/O. So if you have a Jace 2000 and you have the 34 I/O and you're controlling a piece of equipment, you can remove both those devices, put in one Edge 534, replace the station, and then we have cables that will directly connect to the old cables connectors and connect right into our I/O on the 534. Really slick. We've done this a couple of times with some customers. It takes literally hours out of that transition.
That's good. And another one for you is, okay, we saw that you shared with us something in development, the sensor that you have for the VAV. You want to let out, what else are you guys thinking about for the Edge? And I'm going to just put caution to the wind here. I already told you we're not ready to share our roadmap yet because it always constantly, but maybe share just a little bit, a tease.
Is there, all salesmen must get off the call.
Yeah, really.
Because they generally sell what doesn't exist yet. But the wall module obviously is an indication of something that we're closer than other things, because we've got prototypes, we've got working versions of it. It's just not ready for prime time, not yet. There are some things that are more aligned with, again, the Edge portfolio where we've got Niagara available, and that is to extend our application-specific products from VAVs to fan coil units, univentilators, to makeup air units, air handlers, things like that. Combining them also then with some what we call engineered control applications, or ECAs. Those are available as well. So we're developing out some more of the application specifics for more of the terminal unit controllers, so that you can now even extend further that Edge to other terminal units that are ready to go when you order from Lynxspring.
So again, I think, again, summary is we're really investing significantly in R&D and things in and around the whole Edge portfolio, the whole IP horizontal architecture. So, which is a good thing. Matthew, just quickly, any questions from your end that you do see?
I've got a few here. We've got one from Gerald Walter. He asked, when will we begin supporting version 4.12 on the Edge?
All right, let's, since Robert and I are together, I'm going to throw that one at you again. When are we going to be supporting 4.12 on the Edge?
Yeah, 4.12 is actively being looked at as we speak. Initially, we wanted to make it available by ASHRAE timeframe, but it's going to take a little bit longer than that. There's two reasons for that. One, the announcement of 4.12 is one thing, but the availability of the independent or Niagara platform independent version that we use on Edges comes a little bit later. So we have to get access to that, which is still forthcoming. However, we're working with Tritium to get our hands on that. Once we get it, we port it, we commission it, we make sure it all works, and then we make it available.
Okay, thank you. Matthew?
Okay, we've got a Melissa would like us to clarify on the JACE 9000, the Gen EPC 9000 slide, when we noted at the bottom that it said third quarter, is that third quarter 2023?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'll take that one. It is 2023. Right now, in our conversations and in working with Tritium, of which we are working with them, obviously, and providing input and whatnot, like we've done for all these years, we're expecting, I hope, that we will have some to actually put to the test in whatever first quarter of 2023, again, for testing, et cetera. But to answer that question, yes, it's a safe answer right now, and again, everything's subject to change, is third quarter 2023.
All right, moving along, we've got Gary Walker is asking, please explain the 414 expansion to 116 IO versus the 50 IO max.
Who on the panel here would like to address that? You want to take that, Robert?
I'll take it on, and anybody can jump in if they want. Yeah, there's a 50-point limitation. There's also a 50-point limitation on the XMIO. Now, we say it supports up to one. I think you said 116. I'm not sure if that's the right number or not, but we'll go with it. We also understand that's the total comprehensive points that you can get if you add those three together, I believe. That's all the UI, all the AO, all the DO. Now, there are opportunities to have all three, but you can't support all those numbers, but maybe you just want the AOs. So you might need 3 units to support all those AOs that you need. So that's why we say adaptable or supported up to 3.
Thank you.
It's a little bit complicated. If you have other questions, please send them.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gary, if you've got more and you need more, obviously, you know how to reach out to us, please do. And, you know, be happy to provide more or whatever, et cetera. Matthew?
All right, Frank Piccolo is asking, do 514 and the Horizon stat support tree spanning?
Spanning tree. The 514 does. The wall sensor does not. That's a one-to-one relationship right now in the design, where it's a networked controller, IP-based network wall sensor directly to the controller itself.
Okay. Matthew, I think we've got time for maybe 2 more questions, and then I want to kind of bring this to a close.
All right, I got 2 more. We got Bill McCabe. He says, code cache in NRE memory configuration currently limited to 32 megabytes. Increasing code cache has been the single most helpful thing in improving graphics latency. Any intentions of increasing available code cache?
Robert, sounds like a CTO question for me.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
We will have to look into that and give you more information on that. I don't have the particulars of it, but it sounds reasonable to me that what you're saying is an obvious effect, cause and effect. So let's look into that.
Yeah, and we definitely would like, you know, maybe some one-on-one too, to dive into that a little bit and get your input, your thoughts. And again, getting voice of customer, getting what you guys want is extremely important to us. As you'll see, just real sidebar real quick, in early January, we will be sending out a very comprehensive new voice of customer survey that, again, we would, I'm asking you in advance to participate. And it might be 2 different surveys, if you will, because of the length of the information we want. But again, so look for that. So Matthew, last question before I wrap it up.
All right, Alan asks, for your 4G products, the Verizon network is provided via a Lynxspring Verizon agreement. What data packages are available and/or where do I find them if applicable?
Got it. Yes. Lee, why don't you jump back in here and comment on that, please?
Sure. So yes, Lynxspring is the carrier, not Verizon. We have contracted with Verizon, so we use their network, but Lynxspring is the provider. We have one data plan, and we've done that because our modems, the data for all of them can be aggregated. So if you have one data plan, you could have multiple modems on the one data plan, and you get an allotment with that plan of data service. If you go over, there's a charge for the overages, but then the next month you're right back down to the low price of $25 a month for all of the modems again. So this plan works out very, very well for our partners who are using our modems to connect to their sites and do service and maintenance work for their customers, and it allows them to easily manage that. Now, if you go over in a month, the statement that you get will explain which modems were over. So there's some tracking capabilities into that. But this overall is a very low cost solution, and I hope that you'll take a good look at it. It's on our partner portal that I mentioned before. There are some documents on how that all works.
One really quick, along the same parallel that came in here, the 4G. Donald's asking, what about our neighbors to the north?
Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
So unfortunately, at this time, our cellular modems are only authorized for use in the United States. So we have some ideas about doing more than that, but currently we are only our products are only certified to use in the United States.
Thank you. All right, and then I'm sure we've got a few more questions, but we're taking note. And, you know, as we complete being able to put this up on YouTube and whatnot, we'll take note of those questions and get back to everybody. But for the most part, we've just, again, from all of us at Lynxspring, we want to thank you for joining us today. Obviously, during the course of 2023, we are here as your partners to help you any way we possibly can. And as I said earlier on during our conversation, we believe 2023 is going to be a really good year for our products, our services, for you, our customers and partners. And again, reach out to your business development manager as well. They're available and they can help as well. And with that, next slide, and just from all of us at Lynxspring, the best for the holiday season here. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. And again, we really sincerely thank you and appreciate what you are our partners, and that we've got a really good relationship and we're in together. Thank you for your support. With that, we'll go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you.